We're going to call it today. Good afternoon, everybody. We're here today, which is March 16th, for the Education, Environment, and Sustainability Committee meeting. Can I have a roll call?
Calling the roll, Ms. Simon,
Here.
Ms. Turner,
Present.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment.
Nope, he's
Mr.
coming in the
Schrock?
door.
President Jones
Just walk in the
has
door.
arrived,
Yeah.
for the record.
Mr. Schrein?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Present.
There is a quorum.
Thank you. And any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one is signed in.
Okay, so we have minutes from March 2nd. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second, Sharon?
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved, March 2nd. Okay. So we have one item referred to committee, and then we have two updates. So I want to start with the legislation, 2022-0063. Can I have that read, please?
Resolution number 2022-0063, making awards on requisition number 6689 to various school districts in the total amount not to exceed $2,135,727 for school community-based closing the achievement gap services.
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services for Family and Children First Council. This is a master services contract with various school districts for closing the achievement gap, or CTAG for short. This program will allow county school districts to identify 9th through 12th graders who are in academic danger with the following risk factors. Students have failed 2 or more core subjects. Students are absent 36 days or more. Students have received 5 or more days of out-of-school suspension, or students have been held back a grade and are over the grade level. Schools will offer intensive intervention, including credit retention opportunities, linkages to community-based and county services, and exposure field trips. They get 1 out-of-state trip per year per district. As a result of their participation, students are expected to improve their grade point average and ultimately graduate on time. These vendors were selected through a competitive RFP process. This contract is for 2 years, and we have an option for a 3rd year. Thank you. We have representatives from Family and Children First Council and from the school districts to answer any program-specific questions.
Thank you. I'll be opening it up to questions, but are we doing something, is this a different process than we've had in the past?
So Paul Porter, with the head of Division of Contracts Administration and Performance with Health and Human Services, normally provides a lot of introduction, along with David Merriman, to items. I think Paul is moving on potentially within the next week or so. So I think going forward, we'll have myself, potentially Kathy Johnson, presenting items related to other divisions within Health and Human Services, like we did earlier with Office of Homeless Services.
I want to welcome Councilwoman Yvonne Conwell to this committee. Does anybody have questions? I mean, what can you tell me about where is Bob Ivory still involved with this? How does
I'll bring up Robin Martin, who might be able
Robin?
to.
Robin Martin, Family and Children First Council. So when we released the RFP, we had to give all of the districts the opportunity to select whether or not they wanted to operate with a project manager or not. Some districts have selected to have a project manager while others have not. So yes, he is still involved with the districts that opted to have a project manager.
I see. So that would be a contract or a relationship between the district and.
Correct.
Okay, so these districts are going to just go, some of them go in-house themselves and be able to staff?
All of these districts are contracting with the county, and then of this list, some may subcontract and some may not.
Ms. Chair, do we know which ones have contracted with Mr. Ivy?
I don't, we could go through it.
Yes.
Is that a question of the councilwoman?
Yes.
Okay.
To the councilwoman, Bedford, Cleveland Heights, University Heights, Maple, and Warrensville.
Thank you.
Questions from Councilwoman Conwell?
So through the chair to Director Martin, when this program initially started out, I know we've added as we went along. There were, I thought that for the project manager, he was involved in all of the schools at that time.
In the beginning.
Right.
But when we opened it up for RFP, we had to open it up to allow them to have one or not. However, when Cleveland came on board, they opted not to have a project manager because they have a project manager in-house, Mr. Golden, who's here today. So some did and some didn't. And then East Cleveland later on opted not to have one as well because Cleveland and East Cleveland are part of the original group when the governor's office released this. And because they had been operating even when the county did not have a program, they said that they were able to project manage themselves.
So I think that's where I'm lost, is that we started out with it, even though separating, I believe Glenville had their own. Didn't they have their own before we expanded?
So Cleveland had a program that was for boys only, and when they came back, the program that the county is providing them funding for
Girls.
is for girls.
Okay. So I just think that's where I'm, we've had dialogue about this, but
They all had the option to have the project manager or not. We never told them that they could not have a project manager. It could have gone either way. The districts made that decision.
was that in the initial contract or that was amended?
In the initial contract, it said that they could have a project manager, but it didn't say one way or the other that they did or didn't have to. It just said that they should. It was recommended.
Okay, thank you.
Council President, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, well, from the very beginning, we had 4 schools: Warrensville, Cleveland Heights, Maple, and Garfield. And obviously, FCFC gave the funding we provided to the school boards, and the school boards then hired a vendor, contractor. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
A vendor. Instead of using the term project manager, just think of it as a vendor. And that vendor was to deliver the metrics that we wanted them to achieve. Robin's department will provide the oversight to see that it is that the metrics are being achieved. Okay, they're not actually managing it because it is the school board that contracts with the vendor, but they are looking to make sure that our metrics are being reached. And they mentioned a little earlier, increased attendance and increased graduation, reduced suspensions, reducing the dropouts, all those risk factors. That is the relationship and dynamic. As it has grown from those 4 initial schools, we started the RFP process. Because before we selected those schools because it was just a few. But as it has grown, it has gone through an RFP process. These schools have been awarded, and we're moving in that direction. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Do you have a question, Councilwoman Turner? Everybody good? What is this money for in particular, specifically? Like it goes to the district and do they use that money to sub out for the project manager? Do they use that money to hire staff? What's this money for?
So the majority of the contract covers the cost of a linkage coordinator, which is a staff person that works for the district that provides kind of a mentoring aspect for the youth. And then the other funding goes towards the activities that the young people do. So it pays for the credit retention, it can pay for tutoring, it pays for their activities. Any activities that they have are covered under the grant.
And this is for one school year?
This is for 2 school years.
It's 2?
Yes.
1/22 to 12/31/23, okay. Okay. Councilwoman Turner.
So I know that Mr. Ivory recently took, I think, several trips to visit colleges. Is that included in this cost here, or did the students have to pay for that themselves?
The students do not have to pay, and there's a separate contract that's going before the Contracts Review Board for the actual college tour. The vendor for the college tours is going to be College Now.
Thank you.
Question.
Okay, Council President.
How did that come about? How did
We did,
College Now become a part of but as you've heard our colleagues mention, Bob Ivory, his company is called Students of Promise. Students of Promise is the vendor the small business, the vendor that each school system who has chosen to use him, that is who they contract with, and they budget. How did College Now become a part of that? In those early years, that vendor provided all that you mentioned, the tutoring, the building relationship with the students, the going on tours. How did that come about?
That was released later on when we realized that the schools submitted their RFPs and all of them did not select Mr. Ivory. We knew they would have to have someone help them with the college tours, and so that was released to help aid the school districts that did not have a project manager.
So if the school systems chose, and every school system, for my colleagues' benefit, when the schools receive this funding, they have the right to self-perform. They can say, we can meet the county's metrics on our own. They can hire a vendor. That could be Students of Promise or anyone they want, okay? If they chose not to use Students of Promise, which is their right, how did we get to a point where we started bringing College Now into the mix?
Because they still had to do the college tours, and some of the districts did not feel that they had the relationships, or they did not feel comfortable scheduling the tours on their own. So we took that off of their plate and released the RFP, but we did not use any of the money that would have gone towards CTAG. It was other funding. Yes. So it did not impact the CTAG funding at all.
Brought additional resources into
Correct.
the pool.
Funding coming from?
It was in our budget.
HHS, your budget?
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Stevens?
so if you chose not to use CTAG, you still got the same amount of money that the communities that chose to use CTAG received, and then you received additional money to use College Now?
So when we received the RFP responses, nobody selected Students of Promise. So we were going to do College Now for everybody. They came after the fact. We had already did the contract negotiation with them to talk about it, and they added him later on as one of the things that they wanted to do with their activities money. And other districts chose not to. And the districts, two of the districts that chose not to are here. They can speak to that.
Well, I'm just trying to do the math. So let's use some very basic numbers. If you gave a community you gave all the communities a range that was based on the number of students, or was it a one lump sum? Everybody got $10,000.
It was a lump sum, and they were able, now I don't think they were able to pay the full rate that they were paying before for Students of Promise. I'm not sure how that worked out, but they were able to select how they wanted to use the funding after we gave them the lump sum.
And then you added on an additional amount of money to communities that chose not to use CTAG?
I wouldn't say we added on, it's a separate contract.
But I want to know if they're comparable sizes and they're receiving more money because they chose not to go with CTAG.
No.
Something doesn't feel right to me.
They're all receiving the same dollar amount. Although Cleveland is getting a little less because of what they want to pay their linkage coordinator. So Cleveland is getting less, and then they get the lump sum, and then once you get the money, you do with it as you choose. So there's the linkage coordinator's salary, and then there's their salary, their money for services.
Activities.
And so they could take the activity money to pay a project manager and have less money for their activities, or they could not. It was up to the district. But it would have been pretty tight had they chose to do that, but that was up to them if that's what they wanted to do.
Now,
Because the majority of the money goes to the linkage coordinator's salary.
so I thought you said that the county was paying from another source of funding, the College Now.
What I said is we did not reduce any of the money that was allocated for CTAG. We contracted, when we did the RFP, we put the full amount out there to be contracted. When we realized that they did not select him, we had money in in our HHS budget for Family and Children First Council. We carved out money to then help further support them with the College Now vendor.
We actually spent through the
Yeah,
chair.
so you help the ones that chose not to choose Students of Promise or any other vendor.
More.
And you help them and spend additional dollars. to
Well, we
help-
haven't done the contract yet. We can pull it back and they can just pay for it out of the money that they have. That's a possibility.
Possible, but I'm like Cheryl, I can't put my finger on something doesn't really
When
sound.
we initially did it, we did not know that they were not, they told us that they weren't going to use a project manager, and that was the end of it. So then we started the College Now, well, what's now College Now process. We found out later on that they were going to go with the project managers. We have emails where we sent out to them asking them what they were going to do, and they said, we'll get back to you, and they never did. And we found out later that that's what they were doing. The original plan is that all of them were going through College Now.
All of the schools.
Yes.
And College Now's, excuse me, Madam Chair, I feel like extend me a little more courtesy. So all of them would have had their college tours arranged by College Now.
And they still should.
Okay.
When we met with College Now, we told them to prepare to provide college tours for 7 districts.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All right. So it doesn't matter whether you use CTAG or not.
No,
College Now will be organizing the tours.
correct.
All right, thank you for that point of clarification.
I just have to go back and try to see this organically, how it's been growing. If I go back to the very beginning, the very reason we were here was we were in the city of Garfield Heights. It was a flash mob situation, and the dynamics and tension there with those children. I remember just standing in a community meeting, and they said, well, where are the parents for all these children? What's going on with the parents and children who were being unruly? And he said, Councilman Jones, what are you going to do about it? I literally walked to the front of the room, and I said, well, you all know the county. We take children for abuse and neglect, but we also work quietly to strengthen family dynamics. Let me go back and research, see what I can find to be part of the solution. And found CTAG, Closing the Achievement Gap Initiative. We provided the funding, gave it to you. You're giving it to those 4 schools, Garfield being that first one, and they hired Students of Promise. Started with 9th grade, and those years when our kids started to drop out, they engaged them, kept them going. In 4 years, things were going pretty well. I would say I was looking forward to giving out proclamations in 12th grade in 4 years. But we had a proclamation, we were able to give them out in the 3rd year. And the reason was because across those 4 schools, there were 33 children being at risk. It appears some of them had been held back in a previous grade. Maybe they failed 3rd grade or 8th grade, but whatever it was, with the engagement of Students of Promise, those children were able to retrieve their proper school credit and then graduate on time. I thought that was huge. I thought that was big. And that is when we started doing the evaluation of the program using Case Western Reserve. So let's look at what we have here. What do we really have here? Because we had 33 children who graduated on time. And Students of Promise was the vendor for all of them. Now, they're not in any way promised to have anything. They make that, that'd be clear. They're not promised anything. But thought they did a great job. and now as I'm watching what's the growth, I'm seeing school systems and who rightfully have the right to go where they want, kind of moving away. I'm seeing students of now, because touring is part of it, but it's just the cherry on top. It's the fruit that names the tree, but the root of what's going on is those individuals like that gentleman right there, Romy, who build a relationship with these children and engage their life. That's the hard work that's happening, and I'm seeing something that I'm not yet sure that I'm comfortable with, in terms of how these other parts are coming in, cutting across what that vendor had been doing for 4 years. College Now, excellent. They know that I support them fully, but they're woven in a way that I'm not sure I'm really grasping yet. And are we still making sure we're accomplishing what we expect? I don't want bureaucracy. I don't know. That's just my concern. It's just the feeling I'm getting. So I don't know. And I like to hear from the people in the room what's going on.
Absolutely.
You know, but that's just a top level thought.
Mr. President, if I can,
Yes.
who's going to be coming up? I think what I heard is that the school districts themselves, individual school districts, did not want to pursue a contract with students, a promise. So I don't think it's a bureaucracy. It's actually self-determination, like you said. It's the opposite of a bureaucracy because we're not forcing one vendor upon the schools that choose to participate in CTAG.
Which I
So-
support fully. I am not here to be an advocate
Right.
for any one vendor.
So that's
But
what's
I
happening.
am watching. Oh, please.
I think that's I'm hearing has happened during this RFP process, but who's coming up?
Superintendent Hankey from
From
Garfield is here, and he
Garfield.
can speak to that.
Okay,
'Cause
hello.
he's one of the districts that chose not to go with students.
And Robin, before he comes, there are 7 here. How many of them that are here are ones that chose not to go, and how many here
They were all invited.
are invited?
Only Cleveland and Garfield have come so far. And East Cleveland.
I'm Christopher Hankin, the Superintendent of Garfield Heights City Schools, Madam Chairman. When we received the RFP, we realized we had a number of resources that have been in place, including, as Mr. Jones said, Romy Graham, who's a fantastic asset in our district. When I read through the RFP, I realized that with the help of the county resources, we could self-perform and reach those metrics on our own. Even with the vendor, we were still kind of the pass. I'm not a fiscal guy, but like kind of the pass-through fiscal agent. We were seeking reimbursement from the county, et cetera, which we'll continue to do. We believe that after interviewing Mr. Graham, not really interviewing, but having a lot of conversations with him, we believe that our self-performance is going to be on par with what the county expects.
Excellent. And Chris, I know you and
Yeah.
good work, and I can't say enough good things about Romy Graham back there. So I am totally comfortable with everything you all are doing, and self-performing is an option, and I support you fully in that. I just can't put my finger on it, but I'm just concerned, and I don't think it has anything to do with Garfield and your relationship there, but we will continue. That's our job, to stand here and ask questions, and we'll continue. But I don't have any questions of you and the good work that's happening there in Garfield.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I appreciate that comment.
Okay, and who's Romy? You want to come up a minute? Because you've been identified as an integral part of the success of CTAG at this school. Hi.
Hello. Excuse me. My name is Romy Graham. I am the linkage coordinator at our Garfield Heights High School. I've been in this role for 6 years now, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Appears that you're doing some good work. Thank you.
Tell us
Yeah.
about your engagement with the youth. We've heard they're at risk. There's challenges, 9th through 12th. Give us maybe a snapshot of.
Definitely. We deal with kids who, like we said, miss more than 25 days per previous school year, kids who are in trouble, basically the kids that no one wants to deal with. So we deal with them. I take them under my wings, and when I refer to them as my babies. So like the vendor process is like, I vet it well. Like I'm the linkage coordinator that don't let no one come in and speak or have access to my babies unless I feel like they're integral. So that's one thing we go off. So we take college tours. Those college tours are very important because a lot of the time we take them to HBCUs. We have former students from the program who are enrolled in those colleges now. And it's always good when we can go back and say, hey, Mrs. Mache, you were one of our students. Now you're at a school in South Carolina. Hey, we're coming. Would you mind giving us a tour? So one of our former students who were at risk for whatever reason end up giving us a tour on college. So just give the kids like a glimpse of hope. My job is I'm a role model. I'm a mentor. Whatever walk through those doors, it is my job to handle. My schedule is flexible. My door is always open, but I am always putting out fire, whatever it is. So I wear many hats, and I enjoy it, and I love it.
How long have you been, Madam Chair? How long have you been?
I'm in year 6.
Yeah. How'd you get started? How'd you get in this? How did you get brought into?
So I was previously a college coach, but family is more important to me. My wife decided that she wanted to move back home to Cleveland. We wanted to start a family and get married, and so I looked on the school website, and I saw the linkage coordinator position, read the description. I was like, oh, that's me. Giving back, being a role model, being a positive influence, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I applied for it, I interviewed, and then got the job, and been going ever since.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Schron.
How refreshing. Just, you strike me as a businessman that sees the babies as we would call them customers, but in our business, customers come first. In your business, obviously, your babies come first. What a refreshing, exciting way to look at your way of which you took on this challenge. It's actually emotionally for me. This is no different than a passion about a job or anything else. You're taking a passion for your customer, and your customer is your child. And I guarantee your customers are going to pay dividends for this society for years and years to come. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, any questions? Well, good job. No, I'm glad you came up here. Thank you. Thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Okay. Robin, anything else? No,
Can we hear
okay.
from East Cleveland, Madam Chair?
Yeah, somebody's here from East Cleveland, and where else? Cleveland? Okay, East Cleveland.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Spurrier. I'm the grants manager at East Cleveland, but last year I was an assistant principal at Shaw. So much like Romy, our graduation success team worked a lot with my babies who were there. And I was also really lucky to be able to go on some of those experience field trips with them. So I got to experience firsthand some of the wonderful things we do for our CTAG kiddos.
Madam Chair, Ms. Spurrier.
Yeah.
Where do I know you from?
Councilwoman Turner.
Was it Shaker?
Yeah, hi Meredith.
Hey,
I was at Shaker for a long time.
we worked together.
Can I ask a couple questions? Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Mary.
Councilwoman Stevens, but Councilwoman Turner, do you have no questions? You just want to say hey? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Councilwoman.
So how many children are participating in the program in East Cleveland?
This year we had 47.
And you have one linkage coordinator or two?
We have one linkage coordinator at the high school. She has 2 graduation success team members on her team, plus we have another graduation success team member down at Kirk Middle School.
Okay. So we actually are we're prepping the kids in the 8th grade?
7th and 8th.
Oh, okay. So do we have, excuse me, now this might be a question to either one of you, I'm not sure. Is the allocation to East Cleveland a little larger than, for example, to Cleveland Heights? Or they're all the same exact dollar amount? Okay. And so you're matching in East Cleveland with East Cleveland general operating funds?
You could say that we pay our, all the other graduation success team members are paid through my Title I programs.
Okay. Thank you. That's stretching the program almost twice as much if you have 2 or 3. Is it 3 because you have someone at Kurt too? Okay, so that's 3 additional staff in addition to the liaison.
Perfect thing to use Title I funds on.
Okay, thank you.
There's no other questions.
Can we hear from Glenville? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to thank you so much for the program. Thank you for the funds.
And just want to be clear through the chair to Director Martin, are the 3 that are been before us are not connected with students, I promise? Okay.
They were all invited.
Okay.
And for Cleveland, they're actually adding a school building. So they're going to have Glenville, John Rhodes, and East Tech. As before, they only had East Tech and Glenville, but they're adding Rhodes this year.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
No.
My name is George Golden, and I am the director of CTAG program with Cleveland Metropolitan School District. I have been affiliated with CTAG since 07, 08. Started as a linkage coordinator and just worked my way up the ladder. Questions?
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Thank you for being here. And one, first, thank you for all your work. East Tech, Glenville, doing a fantastic job. One, I just want to share with our colleagues. Mr. Golden has led the CTAG initiative at the City of Cleveland, and it was in place before we came along. We brought it to Garfield. We brought it to Maple or Warrensville. They were existing. So all we did was bring some additional funding so that they can bring the girls, right? You were serving boys only, and now we had the opportunity to serve girls. So I'll pass. Cheryl had a question.
Well, I just wanted you to ask the numbers.
Oh, the numbers.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Stevens.
So how many children are participating in the program at each school?
Ooh.
Okay, we can go with the aggregate.
Currently at the high school level, we have approximately over 200 students that we're working directly with. And what we did most recently, I think within the last 2 years, 3 years, came to realization that waiting till the ninth grade was a little late to help some students. So we took the initiative to reach back into our K-8 buildings. And currently we are in 17 K-8 buildings in addition to the 8 high school buildings. And we've meshed some of our upperclassmen with these 8th graders. This is primarily with the male students. We haven't had the opportunity to initiate that as far as the females is concerned.
You're doing some peer-to-peer coaching?
Yes, and we are including individualized programming in those K-8 buildings in the same manner that we were at the high school level.
So how many liaisons do you have, and linkage coordinators do you have, and how many your peer from East Cleveland used a different word. She said that the Title I was helping pay for additional staff. What are you calling your additional staff? And what's the source of funding?
The additional staff are also linkage coordinators, but they're females. I can't remember how many years that proverbial question was, well, what about the girls? And so we were finally, with the support of the county, able to answer that question, that we now have 2, working on 3 linkage coordinator positions in high schools that we're involved in. So we're just working with the females at the high school level, but we've been able to integrate the K-8 buildings as it relates to the males.
Are you doing any little girls in the K through 8, or it's exclusively high school?
It's been exclusively high school at the moment, yes.
And was that decision made because of an analysis that you had fewer little girls that needed this intervention, or you just had a program focused on little boys first and haven't gotten there yet?
Right. We're taking baby steps in that manner.
Well, I'm hoping your data will catch up with you. Because I'm only looking at this anecdotally. If your data is telling you you're not there yet, then I have to yield to the data. But anecdotally, we're seeing more and more young girls enter into negative behavior. We're watching it more and more on television, on social media, and we've got to intervene sooner rather than later.
Well, we are the 2 current female linkage coordinators that we had. We lost one, and we're just bringing on a new one probably in a few weeks. They have also made a concerted effort to try and reach out to the K-8 female population, but not the same level as it has been with the males, because the males have been at it a lot longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
I was going to move about this out of committee, but you wanted to say, Council President?
Can you speak to the impact that the initiative has been having on the children, maybe for the East Tech or Glenville in particular, but just in general, how have they been impacting the students?
It's had the same impact that it's had since CTAG started. I've got CTAG parents that were CTAG students that we engage with now. And that was, as a result of, some of the folks I worked with when I first came on board. We're making an impact.
So are we saying that we have,
Councilwoman Stevens.
thank you, I'm sorry. Are we saying that we have, if you have in a cohort 200 kids, are we saying that from, if this is a 10-year-old program, we have parents who, or young people who 10 years ago are graduates of this program, what percentage of them went to college, what percentage of them went to trade school, are 100% of them employed? I want some kind of information that tells us something that makes us inclined to believe we're successful in our invention. And every child has a different success, identifies a different success. A few are college, some are trade school, some are junior college, some are skill sets that we never even think about, and some created their own businesses. But if there's something that says we were successful in intervening for them to become engaged and involved in supporting themselves and maybe a family, I'd love to know that.
And I have to agree that that's been an area that has not been explored to the depth that the information we are asked to provide is pretty much targeted toward the students who are currently in high school or in at the K-8 level. We probably are deficient in our follow-up with the individuals who graduate and then move on. And
I ask that because you're the biggest school system, so you typically have more data analysts than anybody else to massage who and what you are.
and that would be a misnomer.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about Say Yes to Education funding going to the Cleveland School District. It seems to me that some of this must overlap with what you're doing with a linkage coordinator, because they provide wraparound services and in school. Do you know about that part of this? If there's overlapping work that's being done for these students that
You mean
also-
students who are CTAG as well as Say Yes students?
Yes.
It could be an overlap.
It could
Yes.
be?
Yes.
And the funding's coming from for the same student from two sources. I guess we should probably at some point look at that, how that's working in the school district.
Yeah, and I would say that again, is kind of predicated on a individual's own drive and desire, just because, a CTAG student, some of them just may not have the interest that the Say Yes programs offers them, and then didn't move in that direction.
Okay,
It'd be like, like kids don't play sports.
we'll take a look at that at the committee to see, because we're funding Say Yes as well as CTAG, so I
Okay.
want to make sure there's not, an inefficiency involved, but
And we can do a drill down, and because to see how many of our CTAG students are actual Say Yes participants.
yeah.
And good.
But thank you.
Okay.
Is that something you can get back to us with?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I'd like to make a motion. Marcos? Well, I looked, when I asked about what school year, so the fall was funded 2021 with the last budget? Mm-hmm, for that school year. Okay.
It's not, the contract isn't based on the school year, it's based on the calendar year.
So you had money for the first half of the school year that we're in now? It's here.
The first half was covered, and
Yes.
the second half is
Yes,
here.
it's right here on my desk. Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Make a motion that we move this to the full council under second reading suspension.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So, Marcos, yes, we'll obviously move this under suspension since we're past 1/1/22.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, can I have my name on it?
Sure.
Madam Chair, to add my
Turner,
name?
Stevens,
Add my name.
Conwell, Purnell Jones, I'll add my name. Jack, put your name on. No? Okay, well, whatever however that works, between you and our clerk. Okay, so just, we'll move on, and we will go to our project. Love is next, and thanks to everybody who came in here today to talk about the program. We appreciate it. Oh, Sharon, I guess it's going to go on.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, everybody, so we're going to hear an update from Project Love, Values in Action, on the programs that we have actually funded through our committee and council.
Great. Well, thank you, Madam Chairperson, and appreciate everyone on the council and all the support that you've given us through the years. Just as an introduction, I have two very short videos that I'd like to show that can be queued up, and then we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
Stuart, while it's queuing up, what school districts have received our funding for this program?
Yeah, you actually have on the left-hand side of your packets, you actually have a full report, including the data, from the last funding cycle for Bedford, Brush, Cleveland Heights High, John F. Kennedy High School, John Marshall School of Engineering, and Euclid Middle School. So there's a full report of two different exhibits on the left-hand side of your packet, and I'll be referring to that. You all set? Okay. I want to describe what we're trying to accomplish here together through this joint John Adams Project Love High School of Character, Values, and Community. We had a training of student leaders last week. Many of you, if not all of you, participated in the all-school assembly. We believe, as we embark on this together and as we're successful together, it's going to increase learning in your classrooms. It's going to increase and improve the overall culture and school climate.
I would love a more caring staff, a more caring student population, a vision of us working together when it comes to community, staff, and student population, absorbing and really getting their thoughts around this project. One of the things I've noticed was since Project Love and the values that we have here today is that there's a family-like feeling now. The kids are more engaged and interactive with the teachers. The teachers are showing the same with the kids. It's not that separation, if you will, of administration, teachers, and parents and kids. We're all kind of not together. We're all wanting for the same good.
Many of our students don't feel valued. And the media doesn't suggest that they're valued as well. And the fact that Project Love has come in to address some of those issues, to indicate to students that they are valued, and that we model that to them each and every day. And I think it has made a tremendous difference in our building.
Teachers and students made bonds and friendships from the beginning to the end, just thinking of Project Love and what they're doing. So there was definitely an improvement.
I see students that when they make some rude remarks that they apologize, when they're brought up. That didn't necessarily happen when I started here last school year. Those are some of the good things that I've seen.
We have not had a fight in such a very long time. I can't even tell you the last time we had a fight. And that's not necessarily the case in most high schools. This year we have had such a huge decrease in fights and that disrespect and just referrals all around.
Because of Stu and Project Love, it was very good to be able to go to Orlando Bakery, and they offered the children jobs as they leave from high school. So that was another positive atmosphere to help the young people see that there's hope in finding employment.
Project Love has played a big role in my life. I was looking for a job and I had an interview coming up and I honestly didn't know what to do. Like, it was my first interview and we just so happened to be going over values that you need and what do you need in the workforce and how to behave, how to act. And I went to the interview, I used what I learned, and I got the job. They've done a lot for me, and I'm sure they've done a lot for other students.
Validation cards. I really thought that was a huge success. It looked like an actual validation card that you would get when you drop your car off. And so if a kid was doing something great or they're doing their work for the first time, teacher would go over, fill out the validation card, and the student was able to turn that in and get a prize later. Teachers to give it to other teachers, teachers to give it to administrators, the students that were able to give it to staff members. And I think that whole culminating piece where we were all validating each other any day of the week, I think that was really powerful.
The Capstone Project is an alternative path to graduation that the state of Ohio has allowed. And fortunately for us, Project Love had already prepared a capstone project which fit really well here at John Adams. The major strength that Project Love and Values in Action have are their connections and the context they have within the community. As my students worked through the capstone project, one of the components of that was that they worked with mentors. And so the company that we partnered with is Majestic Steel, and Majestic Steel employees volunteer to mentor our students along each step of the process in the capstone project.
It's been a fantastic last few years since we have started with Project Love. Stewart crew has been awesome with being able to adapt to some of the things that we needed to have happen here. They're part of the culture day to day. I would encourage any school district to really take a look at the program, the curriculum, and to adapt it if you could.
Nowadays, it seems like every news cycle is filled with a constant stream of tragedy, doomsday predictions, and reports of a widening gap between segments of our society. Is this what our world has become? Have the lines that divide us become unbridgeable chasms? Is our humanity waning under forces that are beyond our control? These questions can lead us to feelings of fear, exclusion, isolation, and ultimately hopelessness. But what if there was a place where, despite our circumstances, despite our differences, we could feel a sense of togetherness and common purpose? What if each day we could wake up with a feeling of optimism that though these are troubled times, we are not alone, but all in this together? What if that place was right here in our hometown? Welcome to Kindland, the kindness city in America. We know the world is constantly changing, but what the future looks like depends on us. There are many different seeds we can plant to grow a better world. If we choose the seeds of anger, resentment, and exclusion, we'll create a toxic environment where nothing can truly thrive. But if we plant the seeds of kindness, a different world emerges, a world of infinite possibilities where we can all flourish. The goal of the Kindland Initiative is to shine a light on the acts of kindness that happen every day in our community. Acts that inspire and motivate us to generate our own brand of kindness and pay it forward. I'm Leon Bibb, and in my many years of broadcasting, I have told the stories of countless acts of kindness. People who move beyond their personal needs, fears, and perceived limitations to lend a hand, comfort and encourage others, and do the right thing. And in my investigation of this phenomena, I have found that these people are ultimately the happiest group in our society. Because an act of kindness is the most fulfilling thing one can do. The Bible says, cast your bread upon the water, and it will come back tenfold. This is the true power of kindness. Since its launch in 2020, the response to the Kindland initiative from individuals, businesses, and government has been overwhelming. Because like its evil twin, kindness is infectious, spreads quickly, and can transform a community. I urge you all to not only plant the seeds of kindness in your community, but to share your story of kindness and the other stories you have heard at #Kindland. Together we can create a groundswell and show the world that Kindland is not just in our state, it's a state of mind. And it's not just in this place, it's a place in your heart. I'm Leon Bibb, a citizen of Kindland, and I want to invite you to join me in this world-changing endeavor by taking the Kindness Pledge at the address below. Together, we can do this.
Okay, thank you.
So let me address why I wanted to show these two videos. And by the way, I wanted to introduce our Director of Community Partnerships, Sean Sweet, and know that we'll be following up with individual members of council as well as the collective body. We are primarily a social emotional learning and culture building organization. We've been doing this for 28 years. We've trained 1.2 million students in all 50 states. We have 3,500 schools involved in our programming currently in all 50 states, with our largest concentration here in Northeast Ohio and throughout the state of Ohio. And we reached a certain point in our development where we realized that we have to start looking at student development, at raising our young people, at the community embracing our young people in a holistic way. We can't separate the air between the school and the community and the school. You know, we can nurture the kids in a certain way when they're a captive audience, when they're in our K-12 buildings, and then they go out into the workplace. And, you know, if they have good mentors, if they have good influencers, then they go in one direction. If they don't, they go into another direction. And there's no question that we all have seen over the past 30 years a coarsening of our culture, you know, not only across our country, but even in our community, just the way that people treat one another on a daily basis. And so we've been very successful and very grateful to Council for the VIA training funding. You saw an example of the workforce training at John Adams and the results. You have two reports, so I don't want to belabor the reports, but they're self-explanatory as to the success. But we wanted to do more. We wanted, just as we've done at John Adams, to be transformative in the community, and that's why we also launched the Kindland Initiative just before the pandemic, which currently has 450 plus leaders and other nonprofit organizations. There are 50 plus other nonprofit organizations involved in the Kindland Initiative. We're thrilled that President Jones is one of our honorary co-chairs of Kindland, signed on from the very beginning because he felt, yeah, if we could transform our community into a community of kindness. That's not to say that we don't have kind people in our community, but let's face it, if we were an overall community of kindness in Northeast Ohio, then Cleveland would not still be the biggest the poorest big city in the country. We would have gotten out of that modality. We would have already transformed ourselves, and we haven't. Because transformation not only requires government, but transformation requires the individual citizen saying, I'm all in. Kindness, we have found, whenever we've introduced our kindness programming in a school, it's been transformative. So we were looking for a core value that could be intuitively understood. And I'll tell you, you know, all of the CMSD schools, 110 schools are involved. They have lawn signs, Cleveland is Kindland. All of the Akron schools are involved as well because we wanted to make this a Northeast Ohio thing. And we launched our Kindland programming 3 weeks ago in CMSD, in all CMSD schools. But we focused as a staff in particular on one school, on John F. Kennedy High School, which is a comprehensive school. And what I mean by comprehensive, I know Councilwoman Simon and President Jones, you understand what I'm saying, that, you know, there are certain CMSD schools that self-select, you know, whether it's Ginn Academy or whether it is the schools at John Hay, and they have, because they're self-selecting, because in essence they're creaming, their numbers are going to be higher automatically. When you have a school like John Adams or Collinwood or JFK or Lincoln West that accepts, you know, all the students, you're going to have a lot of issues in those schools. So we went back last week and did focus groups with the principals, with students, and with the teachers. Across the entire gamut, they have said the behavior has automatically changed. As soon as the students themselves initiated a Kindland assembly and they got their peers on board, because there was an expectation. There was a common core value that everybody was expected to adhere to, and there were certain action steps that they could take, such as just documenting the acts of kindness that are already existing in the school, putting it on an app that we've developed. Each school has a separate app code so that the schools can track the acts of kindness. Cuyahoga County can have its own separate app code for all employees in Cuyahoga County to track the acts of kindness. Imagine the millions of acts of kindness that we could report every single year just coming out of this building and all of your ancillary facilities that lift people up. And you know what? We're seeing horrible things on television now about Ukraine, but we're seeing incredible acts of kindness, aren't we, on television? And how do we feel when we see those acts of kindness? We feel, oh my God, I need to do something. I need to pay it forward. That's what kindness does. And that's what we're trying to do to transform our community. So I have two requests of council today. We actually, for our VIA training, which we have been expanding, not contracting, we actually had in the last funding cycle, we received $108,000 from council. And in this current funding cycle, we were cut to $50,000. So my request is, please consider restoring our funding because we're spending out of our own general budget, which covers a lot of things. We're not cutting back on schools, we're expanding on schools, but we're expanding through our general budget. And that money from county council is very, very helpful. The second request I have, in your packets, on your left-hand side, on your right-hand side, rather, you have a request for $200,000 in ARPA money for Kindland. Kindland can be transformative to this community. And if we build culture, actions will follow. Because along with our partners, and it's interesting, 3 weeks ago, there was actually about a month and a half ago, we got a call out of the blue from a reporter for Politico. And she asked, can she come to Cleveland to observe the launch in CMSD? So 3 weeks ago, she came to observe our launch at John F. Kennedy High School. And next week or the week after, there's a national article coming out in Politico from her talking about Kindland and how we are the only community in the country that is doing this kind of thing. And ultimately, if we become a community of kindness, all ships rise. Imagine the company that wants to relocate a factory, and they're, okay, where in the United States can we find kind workers? Oh, Cleveland. Oh boy, look what they're doing. They have a great work ethic and they have kind workers, and we want to relocate our factory here. So please consider, and we would love to have Cuyahoga County as an entity involved as a partner in Kindland. We are actually planning right now with all of the television stations the theme during the summer of a summer of kindness, where every single month from all of our partners in all of our communities, we will have tangible kindness activities for families to do. And if we build that kind of groundswell, there's going to be more mentorship in the community. There's going to be more neighbors helping neighbors. There's going to be increased learning. Ultimately, you saw the numbers at John Adams after 2 years, 23% increase in the graduation rate. After 3 years, it was 43% increase in the graduation rate. And ultimately, you know, happy and kind people want to be successful people. You know, if we point them in the right direction, the human condition, you know, we all want to succeed. None of us wants to be a failure. Nobody wants to be in the gutter. Nobody wants to be an addict. Nobody wants to be, you know, incessantly binge drinking. And ultimately, everybody wants a good job and a good family life. That's the common denominator among all of our human beings. Let's help our individual citizens propel themselves toward that goal. But Cuyahoga County can be an integral partner in that effort. Thank you, and thanks for all that you do for us.
Thanks, Stuart, and nice meeting you, Sean. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Councilwoman.
Hello.
I'm Meredith Turner, newest member to the council. And as you were talking, it just made me think, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. As it relates to paying it forward and acts of kindness, I had a woman by the name of, during this Women's History Month, named Stephanie Tubbs Jones, that was very kind to me, and I have been trying to pay it forward ever since. Her office allowed me to come to an event that you had at the Intercontinental Hotel. I don't remember what year that was. It was somewhere between 2006 and 8 or something, but that was my first introduction into your organization.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I'm just so amazed at how you have been growing. So I follow the Joneses. And,
Stephanie was near and dear to our heart because she was the honorary chairperson of our advisory board for 10 years.
Yes, she was. So she allowed me to, you know, be introduced to your organization. I am here again as the fruit of her labors, her mentoring.
Oh, thank you.
Paying it forward. And so I intend to do the same thing. Let me know how I can be helpful. Chairman, I didn't know you were honorary chair, but just so grateful for this.
Great, and all of you, by the way, have posters in your packets. We can deliver lawn signs. Together we are Kindland. We would love to have a lawn sign in front of the county administration building. And as I said, all of the CMSD schools they were waiting for the snow to recede before putting out their lawn signs. But you'll be seeing in the next 2 weeks, every single CMSD school will have 4 lawn signs. Together we are Kindland. And that will, you know, the great thing that CMSD loves about it is kids can go on to the website and take the pledge with their parents and grandparents. And we actually, as part of our programming, every month we are giving them Kindland family activities for the families to do. So, you know, if we connect the dots, as I said before at the outset, we can't isolate the air. You know, if we connect the dots between school, community, business, family, and faith, then we are going to be a thriving community even more so than we are now.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Stuart. Okay.
I don't have a question, just a comment. Again, thank you for all your hard work, Stu. You are just not only kind, but you're passionate and you're driven. I think people feel
that I am.
Feel that you are, and it's impactful. It's important. It's a good thing, especially at John Adams, the work you're doing there.
Well, thank you. I will tell my wife, who tells me that I'm sometimes too passionate, that you congratulated me on that.
Take it down a notch. Tell her no. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Okay,
Stuart.
thanks so much. We'll get back to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the time and all that you do.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah, we have a full committee meeting today, so now would like to invite up College Now reps to talk about our cohort scholarship program, Educational Assistance Fund. Duke County Council.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
Good afternoon. I'm Kitty Warshawski. I'm the Chief External Affairs Officer. It's lovely to meet some of the new council members since we were last before the committee. And I just thought if it would be okay with you, I'd take just a second, because we have some new members, just to give you a quick overarching view of our work. And you also have, in addition to the report and Bob's report and any questions that we can answer, some materials from us. You have our annual report and our at a glance card. We are the oldest and largest college access organization in the state. You may have heard of us as the Cleveland Scholarship Program. Since the early 1970s, we've been working in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and in most of the districts across Cuyahoga County, now also in Lorain and in Medina and in Summit to lesser extents in those counties, but providing college access services, including what was mentioned earlier. We take kids on college visits. We help them prepare for ACTs and SATs, complete their FAFSA applications, apply for wonderful scholarships such as this. And we also do very similar work with adults, except they're not captive, as the way Stuart just mentioned. You know, they're out in the community, so we try to find adults where they're working. We also have a resource center in our office, which is over in Post Office Plaza, and of course now we do everything virtually as well. So we're always happy to meet anybody and work with anybody. We really, what's important to us is helping people get to and through their post-secondary pathway, whether that's a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, technical certificate, with the least amount of debt and what's going to be the best fit for them and lead to a family-sustaining wage. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bob and actually also just add my gratitude again for our longstanding partnership.
Thanks, Kitty. So once again, we're just asking for the same thing we've gotten for the last, 8 years. It's been going on since this county. Just wanted to point a couple things out to. So we would continue funding students with a scholarship at $1,750 a student per year for 4 years, providing students a mentor in the community. As you can see from some of our report here, we've had great success. We have funded over 600 students in this program since inception. 74% of them are either graduated from college or still enrolled, which is a fantastic number. Just to give you some context, graduation rates for college across the board is a little over 50%, regardless of the background. All of College Now students are Pell eligible students, which if you look at which means they have very high financial need. If you look at the Pell eligible graduation rates across the country, you're looking at around 40%. And if you look at urban Pell eligible students, it's closer to 20%. So we're really excited about the numbers we're seeing. Some things that we've had some challenges with COVID that we were really sort of trying to make or handle. And I think if you look at page 3, we'll start at page 3. Things I really want to point out. Cohort 7, that was high school graduating class of 2019. They were the students that were freshmen in college when they all got sent home for COVID. We were very concerned about what would happen with those students, and we did a lot of things to intervene. We first made sure that all of our students had access to technology, so we did follow up with all of them. If they needed a computer, we found a way to get them a computer through partnerships all over the city and the county who were helping us. The other thing we did is our mentoring program. For those that may not be familiar, every College Now scholarship recipient is matched with a mentor, a volunteer in the community who's there to try to help guide them through college. It's an online program, so most of the communication takes place on a platform, and it's curriculum based. So every 2 weeks they're getting a discussion topic. So freshmen are getting a lot of that transition to college stuff, while seniors are getting a lot of graduation, grad school, job, things like that. Well, when COVID hit, we said we needed to come up with a whole new curriculum, basically starting to help students with online schooling, things like that. And we're now in that cohort 7, 87% of those students are still enrolled in school into their 3rd year. So not only did they go home, they went back and they're still there, which is fantastic. If you turn to page 4, we have the class of 2020, which these were the students that basically did a whole year of high school online and then went off to college, and we were sort of really concerned. So we gave a lot of supports there, similar to the ones we gave. 98% of those students went back for their 2nd year. We were just Blown away. Yeah, actually, because we're sure our goal is to get to that like 90% rate. We thought we'd see a decrease when we actually saw an increase with this current cohort. So things are going really well. We just want to continue doing the good work. And I can answer any questions you guys might have.
Any questions? Councilwoman Stevens?
I can't read fast enough.
That's
so
fine.
Can you tell us how many students have been through your program in total now?
Yeah.
I know it's in here, I just
It's
can't
okay.
find
It's
it.
608 thus far.
Okay.
And these are students, as Bob mentioned, from the county. They are graduated from county high schools, which college now serves. So that's all of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and most of the other districts.
Inner-ring suburbs.
Exactly. All the inner-ring suburbs and even a few sort of further out. And then these students also are Pell eligible, as Bob mentioned, and then they also have to meet academic requirements of a 2.5 GPA and an 18 or a 18 on the ACT or a 960 on the SAT, because that's deemed college ready.
So I just stumbled onto one of the facts I was just going to ask. The very first class was 2013.
Correct. That's the first
And
high school graduating class, 2013.
60% of them have graduated from college?
Correct.
And the remaining 40%, did they do some skill development, or do we have some idea what happens to the remaining 40%?
No, we do not. I mean, the skill development, yes, they went to college. They could have been enrolled for from 1 to 3, 4 years even, but did not receive a degree or a certificate. So we do track whether or not they get either a certificate, associate degree, or bachelor's degree.
Okay. So that 40% didn't do any of the three
They did not do
criteria
any
that you
of
have.
those. Correct.
But they could have.
And they may have still gotten it since then, but we stopped tracking after 6 years. That's what the Department of Education requires. So we continue to track them for the 6 years. We continue to reach out to them to try to get them to come back to school, but
in year 7, you don't make a call.
Well, we still offer up services and things like that, but we don't track them because we get our graduation data through the National Student Clearinghouse, so we only have access for students for such a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Council President?
Cheryl asked the question I would have asked, but maybe can you speak a little bit to the Cleveland students who have graduated, now that college is being provided for them? Can you speak to the impact that's having? How many children are taking advantage of that, and just anything that you might be able to share?
I'm assuming you're referring to the Say Yes to Education?
Say Yes to Cleveland,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, well, Say Yes to Education, it's a great program. It covers tuition for students after their federal and state grants. So they look at the Pell Grant and the state grant first. If there's any gap for tuition after that, Say Yes to Education will fill that gap, which is fantastic. College Now scholarships are cost of attendance scholarships, so we allow students to use these funds for room and board, books, those other costs that Say Yes does not cover. So it's actually a good combination, as we're sort of filling in another piece of the bucket for those Say Yes to Education students. As far as students that are taking advantage of Say Yes to Education, I think we have 1,200 students enrolled this year, enrollments for the first 3 classes. I think that was the last report I think I heard.
Are you aware of the universe of children in Cleveland that have that opportunity, and how much your impact, how that 1,200 might?
Well, every student that graduates from a CMSD high school that was also a resident of the city of Cleveland, from the time starting freshman year, have access to those. All they have to do is graduate. If they go to any state institution, they're going to be able to get Say Yes dollars. So that's the number I'm talking about that's the number of students who do it. But I'm not sure exactly what the percentage of, like, you'd have to ask Say Yes to Education. I'm just going off of what I've heard in reporting. But they all have access to it. Now, they might not all have access to this funding because we do put the minimum 18 on the ACT and the 2.5 GPA as college ready. And we also put the Pell Grant requirement that students qualify for the federal Pell Grant. So those aren't things that Say Yes requires. So for example, students that make over a certain income, $75,000 a year, they still qualify for Say Yes dollars, but not the full tuition dollars, whereas they wouldn't qualify for anything from college now. And we work very closely with, Say Yes, trying to make sure we help as many students as possible.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's our update, and you have your grant now for this school year, right? I mean, we're current.
Correct. Yeah, we would be looking to pick a new graduating class in April.
April.
So May 1st is when we usually notify students of their selection. So that would be this high school graduating class of 22.
All right, just so the committee knows, is this program, the Charter of Cuyahoga County, actually, it's one of the mandates for county council. There's just a couple. One is to invest in and put forth educational programs. And this was our original, one of our original programs that came out, we developed. And then in conjunction with that, we have a workforce program that will have come in for an update as well. So, there were two components that we created, and this is, extremely successful. As you can see the stats, nationwide, how this is really skewed in a positive way, that it's making a difference. And, it's College Now, and it's the mentorship program, and right. Is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
So I'd like to carry this on as, council's successful program. Okay.
We certainly appreciate the partnership, and as Bob mentioned, we'd love the opportunity to be able to select the next cohort of students. So these are kids who are currently, in their last couple months of senior year of high school. So I think it would be helpful if you are hoping to be able to move forward to, know the sense of the council's timing.
Your timing.
Our
Yep.
timing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. And I don't have any further business for the meeting.
A curious question. On the last page, it shows where, what does this map mean?
Oh, those are the schools that we work in. I think I'm hoping underneath that there
It
should be a key.
tells us what the schools are?
Yeah.
So we literally are working down in Barberton?
We were last year. We did. We had a contract with, that was funded through the Barberton Community Foundation to provide our services at the Barberton High School.
Wow.
I know, yeah.
It's a little distance.
we-
Not that
well, we-
big of a distance.
well, we had
If we were
staff.
New York City, it would be nothing.
You're exactly right. We had a staff member who lived down in Summit County so it was an easier commute, but as the bulk of our work is up here.
Okay, thank you.
And just to confirm, those students would not be eligible for this dollars. They do have to be county residents and also attend a school, a college in Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, so these dollars are very specific,
That's
as
what I
Bob just
thought, which
said.
is what drove me to ask
Yep.
that.
We just wanted you to see the scope, the overall scope of our services, not specific to this request.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we had a debate early on of whether our county students would be restricted to only county colleges or universities, and the majority of us said, no, they can go where their talents lead them. And I'm looking at, we have Oberlin and, different schools, Kent State, for example, they have the fashion, and, there might be skills or a passion of a student that can't be met if they were to go to Cleveland State that doesn't have a journalism program like OU. So those were discussions. So I am pleased that the students it's student-centric, not county-centric per se.
I like that too. Thank you.
Good debate.
Was.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Okay,
you. Take care.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Yeah, there's no business left.
Their talent should take them wherever their talent takes